I'm here with Sydney Kaplan, a systems engineer here at Amazon Robotics, and I'm here to interview about her job. So just tell me a little about your current job.
So I am a systems engineer, which means that I really go and take a high level picture of how our system works, what requirements there should be, what testing needs to be done, and stuff like that.
All right, so what does like a typical day-to-day look like for you?
Yeah, a lot of my job is meeting with different people. In order to really understand the system, I need to talk to a lot of different stakeholders. And so, maybe not day to day, but week to week, I will be given a task of a ambiguous problem, and I'll go and talk to a lot of different stakeholders and synthesize a solution, or maybe synthesize a requirement, or um, things like that.
Yeah, all right. So what's like your favorite part about your job?
um, I like that I get to think creatively. I think that it's sometimes that there's solutions that I can really see and I can see working, and because I have this high level view of our system, rather than being like really down in the weeds of like a hardware component, for example.
All right. And if you had to say what would be your least favorite part, or just something not as exciting?
Probably the management of requirements. I think that there can be a lot of new ones coming in as we continue to learn more about what our system needs to do and who the different stakeholders are, and it can be a lot to try to like keep track of all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and can you tell me a bit about like your path getting to this job, like education, previous jobs,
Yeah.
internships?
So I graduated in 2021 from Illinois Institute of Technology with I did a 5-year program with a bachelor's in mechanical engineering and a master's in mechanical engineering. And robots has always been my passion. Like I did first robotics in high school. I don't know if you know Team 2928, but that was my alma mater team. And so I went to school to study mechanical engineering, and I really liked the program. I did a lot of robotics and hands-on stuff there. And then my first job out of school was working as a computer vision test engineer for a robotics startup that was in Seattle. But as startups go, things kind of changed, and they ended up closing their Seattle office. So just 8 months out of school, I found myself looking for a new job. And thankfully, the Vulcan team was hiring, and I had some connections to the team, so I ended up here. And I would join the team as an entry-level mechanical engineer, or hardware development engineer is the Amazon title. And then quickly learned that was not, the way I like to describe it is that I wasn't as passionate about like little mechanical details that my colleagues were, such as like a type of bearing.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of my colleagues were like really passionate. And I was like, that's not what I really like. I don't like this detailed design. I'm not enjoying that. So I was given more high-level systems tasks to start to work on, and eventually made the formal transition over to being a systems engineer.
And what would you say is like a typical entry-level job in this field?
In robotics?
Or in like your area of work?
So systems is complicated. I guess not complicated. It's hard to be entry-level in systems. Okay. The role at Amazon doesn't even start until what's called L5, which is an L4 is entry level. Okay. So for me, even though I started to do systems tasks, I needed to go through my first promotion before I could make the change. And so really if people want to be a systems engineer, what's often recommended is to spend a few years in a role that is more related to your degree, so mechanical engineering or electrical or computer science, and really start to know that system, though that part of really build your depth in that part of the system, or depth in that field, and then go back sorry, I'm not talking well today.
All good. Yeah.
So you really go and build your depth in that field, and then you can go and do take that higher level approach.
Okay. And do you know of like skills or like experiences that you found really helpful?
Yeah, I think for me, all of my hands-on, everything I did that was hands-on in college was the most
Mm.
helpful. So I worked in a robotics lab at Illinois Tech, and I worked with drones. And so um, I didn't know this when I joined the lab, but like I had to do all the coding for the drones and the mechanical design. And so that inherently put me in a place where I was just becoming interdisciplinary rather than staying really focused in mechanical engineering. And so it was all of my experiences that were like more interdisciplinary that really set me up to succeed in the role I'm in today.
Right. And in college, is there anything like you wish you'd done that you didn't?
Good question. Um, I think I really took advantage of a lot of opportunities in school.
Okay.
So I worked in the robotics lab.
Hmm.
I had internships. Um, One piece of advice I'd give too is like I got one of my internships. I kind of was able to negotiate a winter internship like over
Mm.
winter break. It was 2020, 2021 technically. So it was like kind of a weird year where I was spending more time at home anyways,
Yeah.
but with online school, but I was able to have a lot of varied experiences throughout the year.
Right. And how do you like get into this field? Was there like a specific like moment that you're like, this is what I want to do?
I would say, I mean, early on it was definitely first robotics.
Hmm.
I was on the mechanical team back in uh, back in high school and was just kind of like, oh, of course I'm going to study mechanical
Yeah.
engineering. Like it wasn't even a question, um, which is interesting considering I've left the formal mechanical engineering role since then. Um, but yeah, just it was always engineering. It was always robotics, really, though.
Mm. Okay.
The way I used to describe myself is I'm a mechanical engineer by degree, but a roboticist at heart. And so it was never about the mechanical design. It was always about the robots for me.
Okay. And do you have any like family members or people you know who are engineers that got you into it?
I think like not specifically family members,
Hmm.
um, but all the mentors on my first team really pushed me in that direction. And so I knew a lot of engineers back when I was in high school.
All right. And then like for like getting an internship and kind of getting into the like workforce, like do you have any like tips or advice or things you did that really worked for you?
Um, yeah, so uh, my research positions at my
Mm.
university started unpaid, and that was taking on those unpaid roles was one of the best decisions I could have made, and specifically research, not an unpaid internship
Yeah.
necessarily, but that really gave me experience to put on my resume. It gave me connections as well. One of my internships, uh, I got through. I went to a conference to share my research, and while I
Hmm.
was at that conference, met someone who had an internship at an apple harvesting robot company,
Oh.
and ended up moving to New Zealand for 4 months to work for that internship. And so, but it was really that research that led me to making those connections. And so, um, big fan of undergraduate research and taking on those experiences. And yeah,
And do you think you could talk a little bit more about like what that research role was like? Like what did you do in that?
yeah. So my research was on using drones to take leaf samples from tree
Hmm.
canopies. And so the idea was that we partnered, the robotics lab partnered with a local arboretum in Chicago, and we would fly the drones. I would fly the drones over the trees and like attach cameras. And the idea was to be able to uh, automatically take leaf samples. Um, didn't quite get there with my research and in my time, but that was the idea. And those leaf samples could help uh, the engineer, nope, the scientists on the field with their research.
Uh, and how do you like work your internship in with your like education and studies?
Um, so I did a couple summer internships and I did a couple summer research programs. And then 1 year I did an internship during the school year that was part time. So it was kind of like a part time job.
Hmm.
Um, and then I took a semester off as well to go for my internship in New Zealand. Took a semester off for that. Kind of did a co-op style thing.
Right. And do you have any like parting advice for someone pursuing a career in STEM?
I guess I would just say don't give up. I think that like when you're learning, you need to learn by making mistakes. And I think a good example of that for me is I crashed a lot of drones when I was in college. But it was just like I didn't let myself give up, and I had to know that I could learn from all of the mistakes.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah,